Hello and welcome back to Mark's House and Garden UK, and as you can see I'm not at my garden at the moment because I'm visiting my mum and Brian in Kendal, and near their house is a National Trust property called Sizergh Castle. So I've paid a quick visit because I am a member, and in this video I'm going to share you some images of Sizergh Castle garden in the springtime. Now it is springtime and it's just about to burst into life, but there's lots to see here. Lots of interesting features in this garden, including topiary and rock garden. So sit back and relax and enjoy this little video with the commentary from me of Sizergh Castle near Kendal in the Lake District.
And as with many National Trust places, free parking for members, but if you're not a member, you will have to pay for parking. And there's lots to do here, including fell walking and parkland. Don't forget to put the ticket in your car windscreen. And there's a lovely, useful and informative map here which tells you about the area around the National Trust property. Lots of parking and lots of outdoor seating in case you bring a picnic, and there's even a plant sale. Very neat and very well organised. A cafe on site with indoor and outdoor seating. I enjoyed a baked potato with chili beans, and a shop just before you go in. You can even borrow wellies and umbrellas. It is rainy up here often, so don't forget that. And they even have a motorised scooter to lend out. Right, some plant pots for sale. And then look at the views here. Now there is the main house, and we're going to have a look around the garden today. Look at that moss on that wall, isn't it beautiful? What a beautiful sunny day. Lots of people at work here, probably mainly volunteers at this National Trust property. Some amazing stonework and some restoration work going on here too. Now just here outside is a lake which feeds the Rockery garden pool inside the garden. We'll see that in a moment. But for now, I just want to wander over and have a look at some fascinating structures in this garden. Some deer made out of wicker or willow or something. Beautiful spring flowers. You feel that this is just about to burst into life, warmed by this lovely spring sunlight. Look at that one, the master of the glen probably up there. And you're about to see my mum running up a hill. Here she comes, and up she goes there. Not bad for a woman in her late 70s who's just had a minor stroke. Wonderful. Some structural bark there on a tree. And buds all over the trees here. How wonderful. Lovely to see. I love this time of year when things start to spring back into life. Imagine the time it's taken to build these rock walls out of all these stones. Right, let's get into the garden and have a look round. The first thing I think we're going to see is a Stumpery garden made from old tree roots. Some guidance there on the way through, and in we go. And here it is, a Stumpery garden, quite shady, covered in moss. Lots of shade-loving plants and interesting structures to look at. A seating place, look at that, bathed in sunlight. What a perfect place to sit. Some hellebores. Beautiful. One of the harbingers of spring, an early spring plant in the UK, and some hydrangeas with last year's blossoms left on for structure. Look at that dainty little flower there, contrasting red colour. Some wonderful old ancient walled gardens here with beds packed full of plants, all neatly labelled, but of course because it's early spring, not yet bursting into life. Let's venture into the kitchen garden. This is probably a walled kitchen garden that used to serve the main house. Some lovely step over apples. Look at those neat beds there. Probably full of seeds or waiting to have seedlings planted into them. And that's an interesting idea. There's some slate used as borders around the beds. Through that gate there is an orchard, and that's where we're heading next. Look at that, a very mature orchard. And over to the left, some beehives. Happy to report the bees are in residence and already active, and you can probably, hopefully, just about see them buzzing around. Look at the lichen on this tree, wonderful. I believe that is a sign of air quality. And look there, perched on the very end of a branch, a nest from last year. Isn't that wonderful? Some beautiful beds here. I wish my soil was like this. And some neatly trimmed beech hedges. And another volunteer there, look, putting some slate edges to another border. Beautiful old greenhouses. There's my mum and Brian again, enjoying the warmth of the sunlight. And look at this old guy, he's painting up these window frames. That greenhouse is empty. Did you notice it was half buried? Let's venture inside this greenhouse now, where we can see some tender plants, no doubt waiting to be put outside. Agapanthus here. Look at the structure and the lights, and you can see here they're using natural pest control. That's interesting. I would love an old greenhouse like this in my garden. I like the idea of just sitting there in the warmth of the day and enjoying listening to the birds. Cold frames, all neatly tended. Now look at the shape on this glass. Apparently it's shaped like that to encourage the water to drain down the centre away from the wood. And along we go, back past the step over apples, and we will venture in towards the Rockery garden, little bug hotel there. And an outdoor tap, isn't it romantic, an outdoor tap? Imagine the plants that has watered over the years. Up some rocks, you do need to be aware that it is quite rocky here and some of the ground is uneven. But all of us managed to get round without any problems. My mum did need a little bit of hand holding at times, but I think that was more confidence than anything else. Right, let's venture down and have a look at these lovely rock pools. Not quite bursting into life, but you can imagine what these will look like in the summertime. But nevertheless, interesting here anyway, even though it's quite bare and rocky at the moment. Those yellow things are skunk cabbages. Imagine making these and moving all these rocks around. Here comes Mum and Brian. Look at that there. Wonderful. She's like an athlete. Over a stone bridge, through a windy path to another pool underneath a tree. And this is fed by that lake I showed you earlier, and the water runs through past the main house and into another lake, which you'll see in a moment. A twisty tree there, covered in moss. Wow, look at that. What an incredible structural plant there. And you only get to see this because you've come when there's no leaves on the trees. Nicely pruned hedge there, which looks out over the bottom lake. We'll come back to this in a moment. Might give you a glimpse of the castle. There it is. Imagine living up those steps and having a view looking back down over your own private lake and the fell land beyond. Isn't that wonderful? Just down there in the distance is Kendal, the town of Kendal, the Lake District town of Kendal. Again, some more steps, but not too difficult to navigate, and most of the paths are quite level. Some espaliered fruit trees and some yew topiary. Now, this particular area of the garden here, which you're about to see, was closed for maintenance, but in the summertime you can walk through. I think the grass underfoot is quite damp, so they're trying to protect it by keeping too many feet off it. but you can get a good view of it from up here in an elevated position. Look at that. A long view through some U pyramids. And there we are, as it mentions, temporary closure. Wow. More U topiary and a bench nestled up there between two topiary trees. And look at that front door. Or is it the back door? Who knows? But look at these knockers, aren't they incredible? Wow. And just look there, there's a small door within a door there, so that you don't have to open the big ones every time you come in and out. Probably for staff back in the day. And again, views down here. There's a little boathouse on this lake, a little rowing boat, and I even saw some ducks. I imagine if I were to come back here in about a month or 2 months' time, it would be a completely different garden. But nevertheless, it's worth a visit, especially if you're already a member. Do come along to Sizergh Castle Garden, just outside Kendal in the Lake District. And that's all for now. Hope you've enjoyed this little guided tour with a commentary, and I'll see you soon for some more garden tour adventures. Bye for now.